This podcast is supported by SafeBand. SafeBand is the indigo silicone wristband that lets people know that you or a member of your family has been vaccinated to protect them from COVID-19. And with every SafeBand that's ordered by you, or people like you, we donate one to a frontline key worker or vulnerable member of the community. Slowly, life will return to how it once was. Until then, we're determined to get things back to normal for those who've taken the first step. Find out more by clicking the link in the description or visiting safeband.me.
Hello and welcome to Monday's episode of the Terrace Scottish Football Podcast. I am Craig Fowler, and this is the first of a two-part podcast. It's just going to be about 20 to 30 minutes on myself and Joel Sked.
Hello.
Talking through the two Scottish Premiership games that happened at the weekend. That was Livingston beaten. There's a new word.
So, know what you meant.
No, not what I meant. Defeating and beating Hamilton, both at the same time. 2-1 at the Tony Macaroni, and also a 2-1 victory for Hibs up in the Highlands away to Ross County. Then the second half of the podcast will be a special interview between Craig Cairns and former Hearts manager Daniel Stendhal. So that'll be coming up later on. In the meantime, Joel, let's begin with the game in Ammanville. Livingston defeating Hamilton 2-1. And Livy getting back to winning ways after a kind of a rough patch, and maybe a result that, well, you would maybe fancy Livingston to win at home at Hamilton. The fact that it came out before the match that Scott Robinson was not going to be available for selection. It looks like he's on his way out of the club, and there has been, because he is out of contract in the summer, and there might be some kind of animosity there where maybe the details haven't really come out as far as I'm aware, but it's either Robinson said, like, I'm away at the end of the season and I don't really care about playing until that's done, or he said he's already talking to other clubs and he wants to leave at the end of the campaign, and Martindale's gone, well, we don't need you anyway because we have J. Emmanuel Thomas, and that worked out all right. But first of all, what did you kind of make of the Robinson situation before the game?
Firstly, I when you were talking about the first of two parts, I was like, shit, I'm not prepared for a second part. I don't know anything about a second part. So that was a massive relief. The Robinson one, I had no idea about until folk were talking about it on the group chat just before the game kicked off or during the game. I found it a really strange one because I went back and listened to Martindale's comments, and it seems something more serious has gone on. Just from my reading about it, I don't know the background, but just from my reading about just from that interview, something more serious has gone on than simply Robinson has indicated his desire to move on at the end of the season. I know Martindale said that with Livingston, it's about the collective. But if you want to be here, then you've got a chance to play. If you don't want to be here, then you're not really in his plans. But at the same time, Scott Robinson never struck me as a type of player to like kind of down tools. Just his mentality, his attitude that you see on the pitch. Again, this is only, I'm only taking this from what I see on the pitch, but it's a strange one, and it'll be interesting to see how that develops in the summer, because I'm guessing it'll be Robinson won't speak much between now and the end of his contract. I'm going to say won't speak much. It sounds like he has been locked up at somewhere by Martindale until the end of his contract.
Yeah, you would be very surprised if it was Robinson saying, like, I don't want to play, because that completely goes against what he is as a player. And it's not like, I mean, wherever he ends up, it's going to be, I mean, I think there's been a rumour that he's going to Motherwell. It'll be a club of that stature. It will be more money, but it's not exactly like he's going to sign a deal that's going to give him 50 grand a week. And he's like a bit, or just not play until then. $5,000 a week. I know, it's not even going to be that. So it's not like he's going to sit out for this big, massive payday. So yeah, you reckon it's probably just been a falling out over the fact that he is leaving. Maybe maybe Livingston kind of wondered whether they would maybe get a bit more loyalty from him, considering they kind of picked him up in League One. But, you only got one.
It's a shame.
Yeah, it is a shame. It's if this is how it ends between the two, it is a shame because it has been one hell of a story. And he's kind of, Livingston's rise through the leagues, he's been there the entire time. And he's the one that stayed the longest as well. If you think like most of the other guys who were in League One, Lithgow's still there, but he's not playing really at all this season. And if you think of the other guys, Gallagher, Halkett are away. Pittman's still there, I suppose.
Pittman and Jacobs. I think Jacobs has still got an injury. But I think Pittman's the only one that's Alan Robinson who's been a regular.
And he has signed contracts in the past before, so maybe they were expecting Robertson to do similar. But anyway, he did play. J. Emmanuel Thomas played up front instead. And I think it's fair to say you saw the best and the worst of J. Emmanuel Thomas throughout this game.
Absolutely. I think we'll start with his goal. It's one where his touch and finish, I don't think you can defend against that. I don't know if there's anything you can do to stop that. I mean, there's a lot in the build-up that Aki's could have done to stop it and get to that. But in terms of the actual getting into his feet, him taking a touch and turning, there is absolutely... I generally don't think there's anything Aaron Martin could have done better.
Yeah, I mean, he's so big that, I mean, if he's going to have a touch like that where he's back to a defender, I don't know. Yeah, what can a defender actually do other than maybe climb all over him and try to put him off balance? But if you do that, you're at risk of giving away a penalty. Yeah,
just looking at the different angles, it seemed like Martin at no point could he see the ball. And J. Emmanuel Thomas did it so quickly. It was a stunning finish. Seen Alan Patullo, I think he was asked about it after the game, and he compared it to the Thierry Henry strike. Of course, J. Emmanuel Thomas used to play for Arsenal. I think Henry was one of his idols, and you could see why he was so highly thought of when he was breaking through at Arsenal, because he has that ability. You talk about his the other side of his game. He is so bad with the ball. He was great with the ball. If he's back to goal in that instance, but in terms of build-up play, I just think he's, for someone his size and stature, he gets the ball nicked off him far too often.
Yeah, he dithers far too often.
You've seen that with the Aki's equaliser.
Yeah, that was. I mean, it's still a great finish from Callum Smith, and I mean, in those normal situations, you wouldn't be giving away a goal, but it was. Yeah, he took far too many touches in the middle of the park where you shouldn't be doing that. I think it was kind of to be still one of his better performances in terms of doing that. I think what I found quite interesting, if you compare him to kind of Robinson playing that role, is that Robinson seems to play kind of higher up the park, like going kind of toe-to-toe with the centre-halves, whereas J. Emmanuel Thomas in this game, he was dropping very deep to do that link play. And every time the kind of ball would go up to him, there always seemed to be at least one other Livy player kind of ahead of him, or at least kind of level with him. And he wasn't really fighting off defenders. He was dropping kind of almost into space where like Hakeem Adoffin was. And although you kind of think, in some ways you would think that's a bit a strange thing to do, because you think J. Emmanuel Thomas, the size of him, you want to get him up against opposing defenders and use that strength that he's got. Whereas, Scott Robinson's literally about half his size. So you would think, well, why is he battling other defenders? But because Robinson has a lot more kind of mobility and J. Emmanuel Thomas has none, basically, if you put him at the top of the pitch and ask him to do that, then he's just going to get too isolated if nobody's close to him. So if you get him dropping as deep as he was to get involved in the play, then I think he can be a bit more effective in that kind of link-up role, because then it allows... Because he's coming into so much space, his lack of mobility is then not as much of an issue, although it still has been. Of course, as we said with the goal, that the goal was maybe the bad instance of that, where when he does give it away, you've not got as much protection.
I was going to say.
Stopping the other team scoring. But in terms of your own kind of attack, I think that's quite a clever way of getting the best out of him.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's like you said, he runs the risk off because of his. He doesn't protect the ball as well as other players. That he runs the risk of losing the ball in dangerous areas, because that's what Aki's wanted. Sorry if there's any background noise. My dog has been the biggest the biggest cunt in the going. Stop being a wee prick. Yeah. He is. He's just one of those where he needs to protect the ball, and I think that's something that Martindale will want more of. Is he should be protecting the ball better. But there's definitely something to work with there, just because you see with his talent in front of goal. But there has been occasions this season where I think Martindale has been unhappy with the fact that Jet has been too deep. I think he wants, as a striker, he wants, when the ball's in the final third, he wants him in the box as much as possible.
Yeah, I mean, you should always, I don't know if bust a gut is the right expression for J. Emmanuel Thomas, running from deep to get into the box. But I think, whenever the ball kind of moves wide, he should be looking to get into the penalty area and try and score more goals, because that's kind of been one of his main issues in football, is his lack of goals since that kind of, I can't remember the club, but the kind of last time he was kind of forcing the second tier of English football and managing to score fairly regularly. He's not done it enough since then, and that's it was something that always reminded me about kind of Christian Nadi when he was at Hearts, and how often he would just kind of stand on the edge of the box, like having got involved in play, and then when it gets to actually trying to get like a ball in the box, instead of attacking the 6-yard box or getting into the areas where you're most likely to score, he would just kind of hang back. And J. Emmanuel Thomas is definitely kind of guilty of that. But I did think overall it was a kind of promising enough performance from him to say that Livingston should be all right without him. But it's the same time, you say should be all right. What do you kind of mean anyway? Is it just a case for Livingston between now and the end of the season that don't end the campaign on a low note where it could possibly roll into next season, and you got a situation where it's like Partick Thistle with the campaign, they finished top 6 and then just got pumped in every single game, and that kind of hangover lasted till the following campaign, and then they got relegated. But I suppose Livy at the same time shouldn't give up on finishing 4th in the table, and also as well the kind of what's the points difference between them and St Mirren?
Yeah, so it's not much. I was looking at this today, and Livingston, I think it's getting into the top 6. I think I know ideally they'd aim to finish 4th, but it's about consolidating that 5th place, because 5th place more than likely will land you European football, just because of the way whoever wins the Scottish Cup.
That's right. You're right. It's only 4 points between them and St Mirren now.
It's about more looking over their shoulders and looking up. I know that's maybe you think lacking a bit of ambition, but I would say it's more realism and just trying to consolidate that 5th place, because 5th place, back-to-back 5th place finishes, and getting into Europe would be an incredible achievement.
Before we move on, Nicky Devlin, outstanding.
Yes, he was an absolute powerhouse at right back. I felt for Kyle Munro. Munro had a really tough game. You've seen it with the first goal. Devlin obviously played a key role in that, diving in so naively, and that just opens up space for Devlin. Devlin is someone like Sean Rooney, Jason Naismith, who when they get going down the right hand side, down the wing, they are very hard to stop. They don't have a lot of finesse, but what they do have is just sheer power.
As for Aki's, I don't think there was a whole lot to be critical about. They're obviously kind of struggling a bit with injuries. If you kind of look at their team, missing a few key players, Scott McMahon, Marius Ogdenpo up front. They went with Smith instead of Moyo. I was quite surprised. One thing, I was surprised that Moyo didn't come off the bench until injury time, because they typically like that kind of more kind of physical presence up front, and I think they missed it a bit. But at the same time, Moyo is rubbish. So and Smith scored, so it's like maybe that's why didn't he come off the bench until it was injury time. Yeah,
that was a strange one for me. I think I've seen a few Aki's fans mention that as well, that Rice didn't change it till kind of late on in terms of in the final third. I must be one of like 3 people who actually think there's something there in Moyo. But
it's just you, Moyo, and his mum.
Yeah, we've got a strong Moyo supporters club. I just think there's something about him. I think he can be good in there. He wants to win flick-ons, and Smith scored an excellent goal, and he did work hard, just like Anderson. I think it would have been shrewd to give him a wee bit extra, even if he played kind of 3 up. And just give Livingston something else to think about and go direct. Because let's face it, it was a very back to front game.
Oh yeah. The ball was getting kicked fuck out of, basically.
I think I looked on Wyscout, and I think the average. So I think the average possession. So the average pass bit of play per team, or before they lost the ball, was 2 passes. So that was the average that they put together, which says a lot.
Yes, it certainly does. Another kind of thing that just kind of bothered me a little bit, kind of comparing Aki's the setup from this game and the last time I saw them play, which was the Motherwell game. And I kind of thought in the Motherwell match, I thought that Ross Callaghan was given a wee bit more freedom to play further forward. It was almost like in the Motherwell game, try to remember who the other midfield partner was. I think it was Charlie Trafford. So you had Trafford and Ogkmpoe kind of playing like as a kind of two number 8s along the 4. And then you had Callaghan in front of them. So he was almost like, if you want to kind of compare it to St Johnson's team sometimes this season, it was almost like he was an extra forward in that game. And I think that suits Callaghan a bit more because it allows those kind of chaos abilities to really kind of impact the game in the final third. And this game, it was more of a kind of disciplined role, kind of as a number 8 on one side with Scott Martin, a number 8 on the other side. And I don't know, I just thought it kind of curtailed him a bit. He still had one chance fairly late on where he made a great run off the ball, and Martin, who was actually found him with a really good through ball, and Callum was a little bit unlucky that he's kind of shot in the kind of turn from an angle, just went past the far post. But otherwise, it was a kind of fairly quiet game from him, and I think they needed to maybe do more to get him further forward to support the two strikers.
That was my big takeaway from Aki's, other than their their tendency to get duped by Livingston throw-ins. They always thought Devlin was going to throw it long. You see him with the first goal, and he would just play it short and be a 2-on-1, and it was kind of just basics. But other than that, they just seemed predictable. They just seemed predictable, and like I said, there was Callaghan, that one great running chance, that was about it, and they're lacking a certain chaos.
Yeah. Right, let's move on to the game at the Highlands. Hibs coming from behind to win 2-1 with a little help from the referee. I think it has to be said in this one. John Beaton, 2 bad decisions involving Martin Boyle. The first one I've got a bit of sympathy because it's in real time. I thought, that could be a penalty. And then it's only kind of the replays where I saw that, Boyle initiates the contact. It's a very similar penalty to the one that County gave away against St Mirren, where it's a case of an attacking player just kind of getting their legs in front of the defender and waiting for the contact and then going over. Hughes called it a dive. That bit wasn't a dive for me. There was a dive later on, though, when he went down. It was a second dive, yes. Yes, that was definitely a dive. And John Beaton shot it because he should have sent Martin Boyle off because he didn't think it was a penalty. You could tell right away it was one of those ones where he's either dived or it's a foul. It's not going to be like a little bit of contact and it's not enough for a penalty. It's one of those where if there is contact, it's definitely a foul. It's definitely a penalty. And for him to come to the conclusion that it was neither, it just told me that he bottled it, which is weird for John Beaton because while I don't really like him as a referee, he's not exactly somebody that isn't like strong. Like he doesn't lack conviction. It's not like he doubts himself very often. So it was surprising to see him keep his cards in his pocket.
Yeah, that second one was the thing about it is that his positioning. Like I said, he's bottled it because his position was bang on. There wasn't anything obstructing. It was very obvious just the way that the Boyle's movement into Naismith. The first one I can have, there's a degree of sympathy for the first one. It just looks clumsy, and like when you first see it by Iacoviti, obviously it wasn't. He was duped out, but I mean, I'm not going to dig Boyle out. In both circumstances where I've done the same, yes, I would have done the same. Oh
yeah, definitely, yeah. And if you're a Hibs fan, you're delighted with his ability to win that penalty because it's going to look a bit tough for them at that situation. I thought they were a much better team in the first half.
Yep.
But every time it went to the final third, pretty much, apart from that Chris Cadden chance, it seemed every time it went to the final third, it just kind of broke down in terms of like somebody would overhit a cross.
Or offside.
Or offside. That happened all the time. Or somebody would take a bad touch. And it just didn't quite click for them. And then they go a goal down. The goal's pretty poor defending. It's kind of a combination of things. I saw the chat. I just wonder, just because Sean and Telfer are just very happy to dig out Ryan Porteous any chance they get. But see, he was getting blamed for it. He could get a bit of the blame because the ball does go over his head, and because he just kind of stands and lets it go over, that then allows he would have been marking White. Jordan White had he been following the play, and then Hanlon has to go across, and that leaves Mackay free. But at the same time, the ball hangs in the air that much and drops on the edge of the 6-yard box. Where the hell's Marciano?
Yeah, there was. It was a hard one to. It was a hard one to analyse, just because there wasn't really an analysis camera where you can see all the pitch to see who's moved where, who's picking up who. There's a account I've just recently followed, I think, at 9125. There's a Hibs analysis Twitter account, and I'm guessing 9125 relates to some goal in a Scottish Cup final or something. But he looked at it. He looked at it, and it was basically, I think Hanlon got dragged out to the left, and Porteous didn't get a great clearance, but he cleared the box. That was the main thing. And I think McGinn potentially just sat a wee bit too deep and then played White on. And then Mackay was just it was kind of similar to the first goal Mackay scored last week, where he was he was able to enter the box free and just kind of read the play. Yeah,
and also as well, I did have a degree of sympathy. It's one of those ones where if you watch it on Sports Scene, I don't think it quite comes across just how much the elements changed in like the minute before that. Like about 2 minutes before that goal, it was like clear as sunshine, and then the rain just started battering the pitch, and the wind really picked up, and that was another bit as well. It looked like when the ball was first played back in the box, it looked like it was just going to carry out a play, but it just hung up there. And I wonder if the elements had a kind of major factor in that as well. But
that's the only thing I would say for Marciano, is if they just didn't get a reading on it at all.
Yeah.
It's as going back to my goalkeeping experience, as those kind of balls are very, very difficult to judge, especially when, like me, you are a massive shite bag for coming off your line. But it's one of those where I think with the trajectory of the ball, even if he just came out and just punched it, because he's a good puncher of the ball.
Looking at Boyle, he's obviously the villain of the piece, but I thought he was very good throughout the game. I was quite impressed with the fact that, because I quite like him up front, because it allows him to stretch defences a lot easier than if he's playing wing back. Then he kind of obviously has to do two roles and concentrate on defending. This just kind of playing through the centre allows him just to be an attacker, and he's really kind of clever at picking up these kind of pockets of space around about the pitch, and playing in the front line does offer him that opportunity a bit more. But even after he moved to right wing back, I still felt like he was popping up everywhere. Like he wasn't just stuck on the right wing.
He was. It was kind of the position mind when it would have been under Lennon, where it was kind of lopsided back three, where Stevenson just effectively played as a full back and Boyle was more of a winger. That's what it struck, but he was a bit more free with his movement. I was really talking about Boyle. For what made him have a good game was having Irvin behind him, because Irvin was just constantly on play, up on play, looking to play through balls behind. I know a few times, especially in the first half, frustrating for Hibs fans because the amount of times that they got caught offside. But there's a lot to be positive about that connection if it can be built, because obviously Scott Allen's got probably won't be fully fit or back in the starting 11 this season on a regular basis. So Jackson Irvin played more as a number 10, and if something that I didn't really think of Irvin when he was in his first spell in Scotland with County and Kelly, is that having that vision, having that ability to play through balls. But he looks like he's just gone down to England and just continued his rise the way he did in Scotland. And he's a player that I just look at and I think you were the same. Just thinking, by God, I wish I was in the Hearts team.
I was gutted when he signed for Hibs.
Yeah, it's so good.
Especially Tony's getting annoyed that it was just till the end of the season. Who cares? If you just get to enjoy this fucking Ferrari for like 4 months, that's 4 months better than not having it. But obviously, yeah, they'll be working to try and get him signed up to a new deal. He has kind of made noises that he would be interested, but I'd imagine he'd be wanting kind of hefty wage demands for that to be a thing. But if they can, it'd be terrific business for Hibs, because the fact is as well is he barely played in a year. He just came in and he was looked rusty for about 2 games. And then since then it just looked like, he looked like himself except better. Like, as you say, he's developed in England and he's just such a great all-round midfielder. Anything on County before we finish?
No, not really. I think the
defender's piss poor for Nisbet's goal.
Oh yeah, it's all over the place. I mean, Hibs did well to continue to, because again you go back to Irvin playing Boyle, and that was the first like in the first chance, and it just the ball just kept getting recycled. Hibs just packed the area, packed the final third, and I just don't know how Nisbet was left with so much space. It was very bad. But
I think it's Jakovic who has to move across.
Yeah.
Because when Hanlon enters the box, that kind of drags the entire defence across, and Hjelde just doesn't go.
Just doesn't tuck in. Yeah,
he just stands there as if his job is just to mark Martin Boyle, who's no danger whatsoever, basically standing on the wing, and Nisbet's just right there in front of him, and he just ignores him.
I really don't know what to make of County, to be honest. Wasn't overly impressed when their win against Kilmarnock. I think that was two really poor teams. There's elements of the team I like. White's done a lot better than I thought, and it seems like Billy Mackay is found form at the perfect opportunity, and he looks like he's kind of predatory best because he is dropping deep, and he's not just playing as a number 9. We've seen that Inverness he can do. In his first spell, there was a lot of strings to his bow, and I quite like the look of Charlie Lacken, but there's just a lot of vulnerabilities about the county team as well, and we go back to certainly the defence.
13 penalties conceded this season. I know that one was harsh on Saturday, and the previous one was harsh, but that's still wild.
Yeah, that's and I think they've got a pretty poor record from set pieces as well, which is not what you need in the Scottish Premiership.
No, not at all. Right, that'll do us for now. If you'd like to hear more from myself and Joel, we will be back tomorrow with a short Patreon, just kind of reacting to the Scotland squad. So there'll be no £2 Patreon going up tonight. That'll go up tomorrow instead. And yeah, I think that's it. So yeah, thank you very much for joining me, Joel. And I hope everybody enjoys this interview we've got coming up.
Goodbye.
This preseason, take football further with NFL Game Pass.
We make plays and we dominate all night long.
Catch every rookie debut with live out-of-market preseason games.
Welcome to the NFL.
See big names in their new homes.
And here comes one. Julio Jones, touchdown.
Plus, get all the action in 45 minutes or less with condensed game replays.
Oh, my goodness.
Take football further with NFL Game Pass. Go to NFL.com/Game Pass to start your free trial today.
Hello, my name is Craig Kearns and I used to be 17. Now last week I had the pleasure of talking to former Hearts manager Daniel Stendel. We spoke about his time in Edinburgh, including his style of play and his decision to drop club captain Christophe Berra. But I began by asking him how the job at Hearts came about.
I have some calls with Anne Budge before I met her in Edinburgh, and she convinced me to say yes to the job. It was not my biggest goal, but when I was there and looked the facilities from the club and the stadium, and I speak with Anne and the board about the visions for the club, and I can see the potential from Hearts, and the Hearts board want me, and I have the feeling we started a new era from Hearts and with more success, and we built a new team and a new mentality for the club, and this was this feeling and the trust from the talks with the interview with Anne and the board was and decided for me to say yes. And then a little bit like new start from the team, from the style to play, from the work in the club. All things looked like we want to start new. Yeah.
And you mentioned your style of play there. What's Daniel Stendel's style of play?
I would say I want to play active with mentality and emotions and play in front, high press, quick transition like this. I would say attacking football.
Okay.
That's some pick out for Bazanek. Zavis away, but only as far as Boyce. It's Liam Boyce!
You managed to win against Hibs and twice against Rangers, and you struggled against smaller teams. Do you know, why do you think this style worked in bigger games but not maybe against the smaller teams?
Good question. I think it was not the reason from the struggling was not the other teams. I think it was more our team. I think the team realized in this situation we can lose some things. Yeah. And our performance was in these games really worse sometimes. And we can play so much better. We show it in some games. And against bigger teams, better teams, but the quality and the performance is not only the quality from the player or from the coach. Sometimes is the mentality to handle the pressure, especially in games when you know, okay, we have to win this game. And the other teams, I think, played easier, but a little bit with the mentality like the most of teams when they play games against Celtic or Rangers, we can only win, not lose, and we have sometimes the problem to say, okay, we have to win today, and it was sometimes, for my feeling, that the player cannot, in German is call up your normal performance.
Challenge from Power on White. O'Donnell's been introduced now down this right hand side. Brophy's screaming for it, takes it, cuts inside. Brophy on the left foot. Yes, it's on to come on. Brophy on the left foot, on the edge of the area. That is absolute delight from Eamon Brophy, who scores his 6th goal in the league of the season.
Yeah, they cannot bring your normal performance in games with more pressure on our side, and I think in the first time the feeling we want to change the style to play, a lot of things we want to change, and I think in the first time was a little bit too much for the player, for the staff, for the club sometimes, but. It was for me also new league and a new club, and I not really knew all players. Some players was injured in this time or come back, like Connor Washington and John Sutter, and some other player. Stevie Naismith was sometimes not fit in this moment, and in the first time you can see it was not so easy for the player to change the mindset for the game in the head, and but I think with the last game in 2019 was against Aberdeen was a really good game, and then we started a little bit better. Or we changed more our game, and in this moment was for me the main focus was more to change, because everybody told me we have a good quality, we have a good team, some player come back, and it's easy to stay up in the league, and I thought, okay. And my was in the first, the feeling was change the style, change the atmosphere in the club to bring back winner mentality, yeah, and I know later in after 1 month, 6 weeks, that we need better results, and then came the pressure, and I think we not constantly can bring our performance on the pitch, and this was a little bit the problem, especially against the teams from the bottom in the league, and it was important for us. It was more important than some other games, but doesn't matter. I thought we can change it and we can stay up in the league. We have 8 games left, and I think the last game was St. Mirren. We lost, but the games before we win against Hibs, we win against Rangers, we play draw against Motherwell. Was in a good situation in this moment. I think we have a good situation, but we cannot play or not finish the league. That was hard for me and hard for all in the club.
So you did see progress from the players?
Yeah, I think so. I think so, but of the other side, you have some imagines for the style to play for the team, but when you come new in the club, you have a squad, yeah, and you can only play what bring the player for quality in the squad,
Yeah.
And this was for me in this moment. Okay, we realized, we cannot do all things in the first time. We cannot change all, and we try to keep the best from our squads for better results, for stay up in the league. And I think without the last game, we have we progressed. What you say? We progressed in the last couple of games, and I think we have a good chance to stay up.
Hearts head coach Daniel Stendel has defended the fact that the club's captain Christoph Berra has been told to find a new club. Glenn Whelan has also moved on, while Craig Whiten and Jake Mulroney have been told they can also leave.
And one of the first decisions you made was to choose some players that you didn't like, you didn't want to play in your team. One of those was Christoph Berra, and that was a big story at the time. Looking back, if you could do it again, would you make the same decision? Would you do it the same way?
Honestly, in this moment was for me. I know he have a big history in the club, and he have a really good career. But in this moment, I have the feeling, or some other player can do it better, and I only looked for the team and for better results, not for persons in this moment. Yeah, and I think this was the reason that the club want me, that we not say, okay, what was in the past? No, we want to create the future. And in this moment was this the decision, and for me was not the age, the decision, not the person. It was only my feeling from my impressions from the pitch. The thing is, I tried to start with him, and I think I give him the chance because we need in our situation player with experience, with the quality to handle the pressure in the big moments. But it's not worked, and my feeling was we have to change, and I want to give also some young player the chance to show, okay, that can be the new way from Hearts. With, I think they have a really good academy. They have some really good players, but they not really play or they not really get a chance to play. And my feeling in training was we can improve with some young player, not with only young player, but the mix from both. And and my feeling was we can have a good future with some guys from the academy.
Yeah, you mentioned the young players. Anthony McDonald said some nice things about you. Lewis Moore said he really liked your coaching. Why do you think the young players bought into your style so much?
Okay, the first thing I have the feeling. Yeah, you need. What do you say when you come? And I think my style was. Well, my idea to play is maybe a little bit, no, not maybe. In the first time, a big difference to the style before, and then, and I learned in this time what I say and said in the past is I learned it's very difficult in the mid-season to change from one side to the other side. This is my experience from this time, yeah. But you need players open for new ideas, for new thoughts, and this is easier for a young player maybe in this moment. And when you have like Christoph Baer, yeah. Or Steven Naismith, or some other player played in English Premier League, in his career, and played national team in his career. I get I think the young player have the feeling we want to achieve like this.
Okay.
Yeah, we want to improve. We want to develop. We want to play maybe in the national team from Scotland, or we want to play in the cup final. We want to play in English. The mentality to achieve things in the future is higher from a young player, and then it's good when you have a mix between a player like this and you have player like Christoph Baer or Steven Naismith, to learn from this player. They have the experience from the way to start as a young player to a big experienced player, and I think this is what we want to create it. And of course we have not a long enough time.
Yeah, and any of the young players that you think have a big future in the game, any that you really enjoyed working with and you were excited about their potential?
Yeah, okay. We have to say it was only a short term, 3 months, but I think in a while time, and sometimes he showed it was Andy Irving.
Can Hearts get back onto level terms at the end of this first half? It comes to Irving on the edge. They can get back level. Andy Irving, the 19-year-old, hammers in a volley, and that was timely.
I think he is a really good player, and I think he needs a little bit more support. I realized that after 2-3 weeks, okay, he have the potential, but he need more support, and some other player. You say Lewis Muir, Anthony McDonald was. I think he is a really potential player, and Harry Cochran. Yeah, I think when we have a little bit more time, we can improve this player to a good player for Hearts and maybe for more.
One of the big issues at Hearts that season before you came to the club also was the goalkeeper situation. Was there a reason that you stuck with Joel Pereira for so long? Because he seemed to have many bad performances.
Okay, I think from his quality. He have a lot of quality. He save balls, play with the ball on the foot, and maybe stand a little bit higher in the game. What we need when we want to play, what we play, and I think he have the most potential from our goalkeepers. He was a little bit younger than the other guys, but I think he have the potential. I think he started well, but very similar to the team. In some situations, he have problems with the pressure, and he not only alone conceded a goal, but you can see maybe in this moment we have to change to more experience. Maybe he is more the man for the future when the situation is maybe a little bit more different. And but I think we have good goalkeepers. It was in this situation only the feeling was a little bit all come together in the worst time.
Yeah. No, I understand. What was there an option to buy a goalkeeper in January?
Okay, yeah. I think in this moment was our feeling. We have good goalkeepers in the squad. We have also Harry Stone, a young goalkeeper, and I think we not see in this moment the main point to change the goalkeeper or to sign a new goalkeeper. I think we have some injuries and we not really know what is with our defender and what was before I come and when I come, we have some problems to create more chances and score goals. And our focus was more in this part of the team, but it was not so easy to sign the right player in January.
You had some trouble getting your own coaches and your own people to help you at Hearts. Did you want to bring in more of your own coaches?
In the end was my expectation to work was maybe a little bit different to the expectation from the team before, but I can say I worked in this time with Andy Kirk is a good example. He was there. He was a player in Hearts. He trained in the academy, the young player, and I think it was good to have him in my coaching staff, and I think he worked also very hard to bring the success back to the club. But what I said, very similar to the team. My expectation was, well, my ambitions was a little bit different, and you need time to change things. And in the first time, when I come alone. I think that was not the best situation for me. Maybe my English was not good enough, and
our German is terrible, though, Daniel.
Yeah. Everybody said it in UK. Yeah. But when you come, and when I went to Barnsley, I bring two coaches with me. And for me was, and we have a little bit more time. We start in the preseason, but both spoke German and English. Was good for talking about some things and for translation for my ideas to the squad. I think this was a little bit not optimal. It can be better than when you come and say the opposite to the things before, and you say it in maybe maybe you can better explain it better in English than I can do it in the first time. I think it's a lot of new things, and you need details to to change it, and that was not optimal in this time, I think, but it was my decision, and I want to help the club, and asked me to do it earlier than we agreed, and I said, okay, I want to help. I come earlier. I come alone in the first time. Doesn't matter. I want to help when the club need help. I am there.
One of the other things I wanted to ask was the media in Scotland. There were some stories about you which, in my opinion, were unfair. Making fun of you for using ropes in training, or that you had messy hair, or something like that. Did you see these stories? Were you aware of this?
Not really. Not interested me, but this is I think similar to all medias in all countries. They need stories. They need the best is they need more worse stories, but or bad stories, but more people like to read bad stories. But for me, it was only the focus to the team and the club, and for me was that not the reason to say it's not right. Yeah, in the end, when you it's also my thoughts, or my opinion is, when you work in this job, okay, you can criticize me for not winning games and for some performances, but the job is football, not the other things. And when you mean, you can say things about things outside from the pitch. This is not my problem. Yeah, and I have my opinion, and but I think some more focused for the performance on the pitch would be better for the team, for the club, for maybe some players. And the feeling was a little bit like everything is important, but not the performance on the pitch sometimes for the player. Yeah, I think, okay, I take the responsibility for the performances and for the results, but we all know I cannot play the game. Yeah, we can say, okay, we can prepare the team, and we can train the team, but in the moment when we start the game, I think we also the squad or the player or the team take the responsibility for the performance. And I think we a team, not only the coach, not only the squad, I think all in the club, and we try to do our best. And it was in the short time not good enough.
And despite that, some Hearts supporters were still liked you, still supported you, even through some poor results. Why do you think the supporters liked you so much? And some still do. Some still say, bring Daniel Stendel back.
But
please come back.
I can say, doesn't matter, it was only a short time. I can say I do all to help the club and to bring the club back to better results and to the standing in Scottish football, what everybody in Edinburgh expected. But I think it was a very difficult situation to do that, and especially when you have only a short time to do it. I can say I bring all my power, my energy to help the club, and and I'm not there more. But I would like to bring the club on the right way and to finish my work. But it was another decision. This is the job, not only in Hearts, in every club, and I wish the club all the best. And I see, I think when I see the results, sometimes I watch the score from Hearts, and I think they're on the good way to come back in the Premiership. And this is what everybody expected, and everybody hoped that they come back after the season.
Excellent. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay. Thanks for the talk. And I wish you all the best.
That's all from Monday's episode of the Terrace Podcast. Be sure to check out all the other content that's going up this week, including on Patreon, which you can access at patreon.com/Terrace Podcast. Goodbye.
This podcast is supported by SafeBand. SafeBand is the indigo silicone wristband that lets people know that you or a member of your family has been vaccinated to protect them from COVID-19. And with every SafeBand that's ordered by you, or people like you, we donate one to a frontline key worker or vulnerable member of the community. Slowly, life will return to how it once was. Until then, we're determined to get things back to normal for those who've taken the first step. Find out more by clicking the link in the description or visiting safeband.me.